Kick off. I think we've got 50 odd people back in the room. Um, Good afternoon. Hope you enjoyed the morning as much as I did. Really, really good sessions so far. I'm Steve Walker-Whitehead and I'm the Director of People Equality and Organisational Development at Hounslow Borough Council, also one of the PPMA Vice Presidents. And it's my absolute pleasure to be introducing Charles Hipps this afternoon. We're returning to the issue of AI and how that can support us in talent acquisition given the financial constraints that we're all facing. So this relies and intends to share on the data that was gathered in partnership with the PPMA, as Charles will explain, on this issue. So a survey that was undertaken over the course of the year and that Steve referenced at the AGM. So without further ado, I shall hand over to Charles, is going to kick off for us now.
Oh, Steve, thank you very much. I'm assuming everyone can hear me clearly. Yeah, good. Okay. So yeah, very excited to be here, and thank you to those of you who partook in the research that was conducted by PPMA and ourselves into public sector recruitment report. And it's actually the second year we have done that report, and so we're going to be able to share not only some of the findings from it, so a little bit of comparison to last year. And then we're going to have a little look at how AI might help address some of the challenges raised in the report. So very happy to be here. And as Steve said, let's have a little look and see if we can get onto the next slide. That's who I am. I'm Charles Hipps. I am the CEO and founder of Olio. Moving on, we're going to just do a very quick introduction to Olio. Then we're going to have a look at the report and findings and recommendations. Then quick look at AI in recruitment, focusing then on how AI can help address some of the findings from the report. Going to have a look at overcoming some of the barriers of adoption of AI, simply because it's a kind of key theme that many of our clients have raised. And then there is an opportunity at the end if there are any questions. So let's move on. Who is Olio? We are a award-winning recruitment platform. We're very happy to have been awarded this year the IHR Award for Best Recruitment Platform for Enterprises for 2025. But on the right-hand side, we are much more happier to see that our clients picked up lots and lots of awards this year, which is kind of the most important thing for us. As I said, a very comprehensive talent acquisition platform. I'm not going to expect you to read that or even explain it to you, but basically pretty much every piece of technology that you'd want in a recruitment tech stack, including a lot of AI, is what our solution does. Just to sort of talk about AI, so our philosophy on AI in recruitment is all about what we call human-centric responsible AI. So we believe that AI should optimize the AI-human partnership, and also needs to be developed in a way that makes the adoption easy, because adoption is one of the biggest challenges. And what does that mean? That means that we think that fundamentally, whatever you're going to do with AI, it needs to follow good recruitment practice. So, for example, if you believe in name blinding, you shouldn't be feeding names into your AI tools. We think that all the AI tools today ought to be backed up with comprehensive validation studies and compliance documentation. And talking about the sort of partnership between AI and human, when AI is making a recommendation, we want to have it support that recommendation with evidence for final human review and decision making. So we definitely believe in human in the loop. We are very lucky to work with some of the world's most talented organizations. So global organizations like, I don't know, Bank of America or Korn Ferry, but also lots of very well-known UK organizations spanning both private and public sector, and all parts of public sector, including quite a few government bodies. You'll see Notts County Council up there, but also people like Kingston and Kirklees and a few others. But outside of local, also lots of central government. I think across Ireland and the UK, we have more than 200 organisations. Sorry, more than 400 actually, central government organisations using us, NHS, police, etc., etc. Okay, enough of that. Let's move on to the report. So, what were the findings? So, I guess uh, the most startling headline, I guess, is that 73% of the people who took part in the research, so basically almost 3 out of 4 people, believe that the staffing challenges are leading to organizational failure. I'm sure it's not a huge surprise since so many of you said that, although it is up 26% since last year. So a market change and a market increase in concerns um, around the challenges we're facing and the difficulties it creates for our organizations. The number one challenge did change this year. So number one challenge last year was budget, and budget, you'll see in the next slide, still uh, is important. It's number two in the list, but the number one challenge changed this year to being unfilled vacancies. Talent scarcity is the most pressing challenge, with 77% of you basically saying you found it difficult to find candidates with the right skills and qualifications. As I said, that just narrowly eclipsed budget constraints and lack of resource within the team, which I'm sure sort of go together. And then, interestingly, getting the right technology implemented and poor candidate experience were the next two concerns. And what were you doing? What are you doing to address these challenges? Well, very sensibly, you are how can you move internal skills to the priority positions? You're looking at, as part of that, nurturing your talent pipelines and using your CRM systems to do that. And then the second, I sort of almost group those three into one theme to get my brain around it. And then the sort of other theme was automation and AI. And so, interestingly, AI a massive increase on last year. So again, probably AI feels almost old hat to you now. We hear so much about it every day. But compared to last year's survey, was a tenfold increase in people citing the use of AI to address the challenges. And 2/3 of the respondents said that they were now actually using AI in their recruitment processes. So I think that's a massive change, and well done to all of you who've begun to embrace on that journey. So now I'm going to just quickly move on. We do have one more finding from the recruitment report, but it's going to come a little bit later in the day. I'm going to move on to the AI recruitment landscape, and before I then talk about how AI could actually help. So I'm sure most of you recognize that AI is absolutely set to transform hiring, and it's very widely applicable. I'm sure the vast majority, if not all of you, have now asked questions of ChatGPT or Copilot or one of the other LLMs. And isn't it a incredibly personalized experience and quite an engaging experience because it answers your question? And that is a really good for engaging candidates in a personalized way if used correctly. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Then we've got its ease of use. Over 500 million people have adopted ChatGPT without any training. how many other systems do you have, could you say, that people can adopt with no training? So 500 people went to the ChatGPT and adopted it themselves. And its ease of use and ability to provide, good practice guidance, I think also make it a great hiring manager partner. And its third capability, which I guess we've all seen, when it responds to our questions, it's accessing a huge database of information and summarizing it to give us a personalized response. And so its summarization capabilities really are, again, very well suited to recruitment. If you think about, what is going when you review a resume or CV, in many ways, you're summarizing that document against the job criteria. You're saying, okay, how does it match those criteria? And similarly, things like summarizing interviews or even summarizing if references are consistent with what the candidates are telling you, it has huge applicability. And just to kind of bring that to life a little bit more, I want to sort of show how it's going to have an impact end to end. It just has lots of different AI interventions across sourcing, engaging, selection, and onboarding. And if I just pick one or two, so if you saw that with the Candidate Navigator, that's a tool that guides candidates to the right opportunities in your organization, and it uses AI. Or if we move to the Engage column, one of the really good uses of generative AI is to help generate job descriptions that are unbiased and widely appealing. Moving on to the next column, we're looking at the select column, and there are now well-validated applications of using AI for screening. Down at the bottom within the select column, you just saw interview notes flash again. Another good use of it is for summarizing interviews. I'm sure many experienced that in terms of your own meeting technology and the meetings being transcribed and summarized afterwards. Across the piece, as I said, it's being used conversationally to engage candidates, interviewees, new hires, and employees. And the final column, it's now being used for pre-employment checking. So it really is being incredibly widely used. Most employers did anticipate this at the beginning of the year, and at the beginning of 2025, they were surveyed, and 86% said they had implemented or were piloting or were considering its adoption. And 62% said they thought it would have a big impact this year. One of the impacts, I think, that although people realize it was potentially going to have a big impact, one of the things I don't think we all consciously acknowledged was one of the ways it was going to have an impact. And that is that candidates have rapidly adopted AI. So this survey is actually from Q1, the end of Q1 of 2025, by which stage 65% of candidates were using AI in their job applications. Now, that is in part to blame for what we see on the next slide. So if we look across our hundreds of clients for the past 12 months, we have seen, and just remember, your number one challenge was the talent scarcity. But at the same time as talent scarcity, many of our clients have seen a big increase in the volume of applications. It's kind of almost, it was inconsistent, but they have at the same time seen that. On average, across our client base, they've seen a 43% increase in the volume of applications. And at the same time, and if we look, for example, if we look at our local government clients, I looked at the numbers specifically, it's anywhere between 25 and 100% increase in the volume of applications in the last 12 months. Again, I don't know whether that's true for all of you. We do have clients you can see in the first quartile that saw very little increase. And in the worst quartile, I don't know if you want to call it worst quartile, 400% increase. So everyone will sit somewhere within that spectrum, but it's a big increase. And at the same time, people saw a large increase in the volume of AI-generated applications. So there has been a 70% increase in LLM, large language model, or AI formatting in CVs since ChatGPT's launch. And so I did a webinar actually last week, and I asked all the participants, and I wish I'd asked you, but I didn't, since I thought the evidence was so overwhelming. I asked them, I did a little poll, and I said, well, how many of you are a bit frustrated by the high volumes of samey, undifferentiated AI generated applications with no real substance? And 90% of the audience said they were suffering that problem. So seems to be a bit of a big across the board. Um, on the other side of this page that I've got at the moment is actually a quote from a very specific employer. It's a central government, HMRC. They talked about getting more than 800 applications for one position, and there's no real substance behind the applications. Very hard and frustrating to go through a large number of applications, which all look like they were sort of generated by an AI, and difficult to differentiate one from the other. So that ends the kind of section on, what's generally going on in AI. And so now I'm going to turn my attention to how could AI help? And if you remember the two biggest challenges that came out of the survey, they were they were in particular the scarcity of candidates and the lack of resources. And so I'm going to look at a couple of different uses that can address that. But before I do that, I'm just going to run through a few uses. So if you look along the top of this particular picture, we've got things like talent scarcity, which you talked about, user experience, in particular candidate experience you're concerned about, lack of resources, internal mobility, and pipelining as a solution, some bias. And down this side, we've got a few AI solutions. I'm just going to talk a little bit about how AI is being deployed to address all really of your major challenges. So if we just click once, we'll see. So navigating candidates to the job, as I said, this is something that sits on your website. And when a candidate goes there, it uses their skills, which can extract from a LinkedIn profile or resume, and tells them which of the jobs in your organization are suitable for them. And people are adopting it. It's not just because that's obviously a very fun candidate experience, but also because it's really helping with the talent scarcity and quality issue, getting the right candidates to the right opportunities. And at the same time, it's actually a fantastic tool for internal mobility. Many of you have relatively large organizations, and this tool really helps staff understand all the different roles within your organization and which best suit their skills, not just familiar job titles that they think about straight away. The next example here is the conversational AI. This is about a chat bot talking to your candidates or your employees. And again, people are using it. You'd think that was all about user experience, the candidate experience, being able to chat to a bot, obviously, friendly. But it's also about lack of resources. It's saving a number of our clients quite a lot of emails. And then actually it's been helping with the quality as well, because what they're finding is that candidates can ask all the kind of questions they need to ask upfront about, the organization and the culture, et cetera, et cetera. And it's helping getting the right candidates actually to apply to the right job. Job description generation. Government authorities is adopting that, and they're particularly adopting that really because they wanted to help hiring managers. They wanted to help hiring managers create those job descriptions. It obviously helps with lack of resources, and a lot of compliance issues or bias issues often start from either the job description not being inclusive or the selection process not being inclusive. So it helps with that too. In terms of AI screening, that can help with the scarcity, also help save you resources, and you may be surprised to hear, but actually improve the inclusivity of your selection processes. And then finally, interview summarization, again, helping with lack of resource and compliance. Again, we've got another local government body who's adopting this because they want to have a really consistent set of interview notes across every single interview, and they're not getting them back otherwise. Uh, all of these tools, I think, are really, could be help in addressing not just the budget challenge, which was last year's number one, but this year's number one in terms of talent scarcity and many of the other challenges that you raised. Now, I was originally thinking I was going to try and do little demos and case studies on all of those. And then I thought, well, I don't have time. And also, it's just going to confuse you. So you'll be happy to hear. I've just picked two of them to do. And I'm going to have a look at the conversation one, and I'm going to look at the AI screening one. So let's have a look at that. So conversational AI. Now, I could explain to you what it is, but I think with the motto that a picture um, describes 1,000 words. No, I haven't got it right, but a picture is worth 1,000 words. That's right. I'm just going to show you a little video of how Police Scotland have deployed a conversational AI tool for engaging candidates and actually their employees. Now, do excuse the accent, but I got one of my American colleagues to demo this to us. Hang on.
Each Olio queue is set up to communicate the employer's unique brand, career opportunities, and value proposition. Police Scotland are winners of multiple recruitment awards, including finalists for the candidate experience and most recently winners of the IHR's Best Use of Recruitment Technology. As one of the largest public sector employers with tens of thousands of employees and a police force with compliance processes are very thorough, hats off to them for being one of the first large employers to deploy generative AI in this manner. OlioQ is deployed end-to-end to support candidates from job seekers through to employees. Before I start Police Scotland's OlioQ, my questions, I must first agree not to enter any personal information into the tool. OlioQ both suggests some topics that I might want to explore, but most powerfully it answers my specific questions addressing the issues that are most important to me. So at the start of my career search, I'm likely to want to find out more about career opportunities on offer. So let me ask it a question. What police staff jobs are there? Now, OlioQ provides insight into the breadth of opportunities available at Police Scotland, with roles such as IT, finance, crime analysis, fleet management, and etc. This encourages me to apply by linking to the staff jobs page where I can submit my application and go through the candidate process. Now, perhaps if I were a female candidate and I'd want to know more about as a female, what support I would get as a female police officer in a traditionally male environment, I could ask the chatbot that question. Now, OlioQ really is able to reassure me by providing details of a woman support network, flexibility of working opportunities, health, and well-being support, as well as a mentorship available to help female officers advance in their careers. Now, later in the process, my prime concern might be preparing for an upcoming interview. So I can ask the chatbot to help me with that. Help me prepare for an interview. Now, once again, OlioQ is able to support me, level the playing field, and give me the opportunity to shine at my next interview with Police Scotland. So in summary, OlioQ enhances the candidate experience, helps job seekers select or deselect themselves, enhancing the quality of your applicant pipeline, and keeps them engaged throughout the apply, interview, and onboarding processes. Indeed, Police Scotland is also deploying OlioQ to support employees' internal mobility. And OlioQ does all of this without increasing the workload, and if you are already answering a lot of candidate questions, then it reduces your workload. Thank you again for listening, and if you have any questions about this tool or want to see a little bit more, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team.
Oh, well, thank you, Brett. Hopefully that was really clear what Police Scotland have done. I'm going to later about some of the challenges they had doing that. But in terms of just talking about the conversational AI and what they actually achieved, I think it's really interesting. There was very fast time to value they described. These are actually, their slides that they stood up and talked at an event. So I've stolen Alan's slides. Within 4 weeks, they said the benefits were very tangible and impactful. 30% fewer routine inquiries in their mailboxes. I don't know about you, but they were getting something like 600 emails every week, and that was reduced by a third. They were asking the candidates to rate their experience, and 92% said that they rated it very highly. And then within that first month, they calculated that they'd saved around 37 hours. So I just thought it was interesting to share how quickly they got some positive results. And I'll explain to you why that's really important later. But why don't we move on to, hang on. Now I'm going to just do, I said, 2 little demos. And this second demo is about how you could consider using AI to do some screening of candidates, which, as I said, particularly if you're experiencing a big increase in the volume of applications like our clients are, this 43% in increase, or HMRC getting 800 applications for one role, that's very helpful. But also, if you're trying to get to the really high quality candidates, could be a really effective tool for you. So let's have a little look at that. So again, just a quick outline before I show you a video. What does the AI screening do? Adopted again within government, and it proposes the screening criteria, which again, 2 human in the loop considerations. We then ask you to review and adjust those screening criteria. Then it recommends whether those criteria are met. And again, about human in loop, it makes a recommendation, but then gives you all the evidence as to why it's making that recommendation for you again to make a decision. It screens for experience, qualification, and skills, including soft skills like teamwork or delivery at pace, which are a little harder to screen for, and you'll see why a little bit in the video. And it presents a list in match order for human review. Ultimately, it saves time, reduces bias, and improves quality. So again, here is a short video which talks about how the tools work, and also a validation study on over 100 organizations to assess its impact on time saving and bias and quality of applicant.
How do Olio screening tools work? Olio's Vacancy IQ proposed us screening criteria for human review, editing, and finalization. And using these criteria, Olio's screening interface enables effective and unbiased screening, supporting good practices such as name blinding and panel screening. So first, you are presented with a list of candidates for your review, ordered by how well they match the screening criteria. In looking at our first candidate, we can see their raw personal statement and responses, as well as their resume. And on the right, for your rapid review, we can see the Olio screening agent has analysed this candidate's resume, application, and personal statement, and provided us a summary as to whether the candidate meets the job's requirements. We can see that the requirement for 4 years project management experience was met, and the evidence that matched. And you can review the evidence and agree the match recommendation, as well as provide any comments for future improvement. And we can see that the other requirements for our vacancy have also been met, comparing against all the details from their submitted information. And if you disagree with the recommendation, the candidate's ranking is changed to reflect their overall match to our vacancy. And periodically, these exceptions can be flagged and the AI can be retrained to improve. Now, looking at the candidate's responses for our transferable skills and behaviours, the candidate has provided evidence from their past experience in relation to leadership, a key requirement for this job. The Skills Assess identifies and highlights, for a human screener's review, the key parts of the response that evidence the behaviours required for the job. It highlights sentences which contribute positively when scoring, and any weak or unimportant evidence is ignored and not highlighted. The skills assessed then provides an overall assessment of each response as to whether the candidate meets the skill requirement, and a score for the screener to accept or adjust accordingly. We also see a different example of a poor response, where few behavioural indicators were found and a low score is suggested. Olio's skills screening is backed up by a large-scale validation study demonstrating conclusively across over 100 organisations that it is more accurate and less biased than human screeners while meeting legal adverse impact requirements. Here we see from our validation data that there is no discernible adverse impact on ethnicity. The relative pass rate for each minority group is in the green zone. And we see that the same is true for gender, disability, sexual preference, age, and religion. As a result, Olio's screening agent and skills assess reduces the human screener's cognitive load and speeds up screening, saving the screener up to 50% of their time, while validation studies show up to a 20% improvement in accuracy and therefore higher quality, as well as a 29% improvement in diversity. These tools are incredibly versatile, screening a comprehensive range of roles and organisational levels. Simply specify the experience, qualifications, and skills critical to the role and the role seniority, and Olio Screening Agent and Skills Assess supports your screening for any role and level.
Well, hopefully that was very straightforward to understand. Let me just move on to the next slide. There we are. Oops, go back one. So some of the key learnings from implementing all are, very much to implement screening that optimizes the AI-human partnership. You'll see that, the tool absolutely doesn't replace a human. So it may not give you as much budget savings as you hoped, but this is the, I think, sensible way to and ethical way to deploy these tools. You also want to make sure that whatever you're putting in place, making recommendations to your team, has been pre-validated. And what do I mean? That there's been an extensive study that shows that it improves both the quality of hires and increases diversity. You want to try and choose something that is, comprehensive and easy to use, so it can be used for a wide range of roles. You want also something that can screen out AI applications that have been generated from weak underlying evidence, and something that saves you time. So let's move on from that. So one of the things to think about is, we had across the top and then down the side, across the top, the different challenges, and down the side, we had the different tools, is, which of these tools are most suitable in meeting your challenges. If, like most of the survey participants, it is talent scarcity and quality, and then the two I chose to show you are not bad ones to address those challenges. But the other tools have been widely adopted. And in particular, we found that in local government, conversational AI, the chatbot we showed you, has been very popular. Job description generation is also very popular, and so is interview summarization. Moving on, we have a little just poll here, just to ask you whether to actually find out more about AI solutions. And if you do, then we can obviously send you some more information. Here's a poll. If you'd like to click and fill it in, that would be brilliant. I think it's which one? I think you have to click one. It looks like we've got all polls rolled into one. So since we've got all polls rolled into one, why don't I also introduce the other poll? So the other poll is, do these presentations, our objective really is to encourage people to take action. And so the second part of the poll is just to think about what actions could you take as a result of this. Some of the things is you could join a community and hear from other employers and their experiences. You could request more information from us. You could test drive one of our tools, recommend to your organization that AI is looked at seriously in terms of implementation, or you could share the information with your colleagues. So I'm going to click those, submit. I don't know whether are you able to share the poll results? Just see what people's have to say. I can't. Maybe at the end we can do that. Maybe at the end we can do that. Okay.
When it ended, maybe.
Okay, we'll move on. So why don't we look at just quickly last part of the presentation, and I'm just going to move. Oh, there we are. Here we are. So some people are keen to find more information, which is good. And then what have we also got? We've got others who are keen to join the community and drag down. Recommend the organization actually take some steps to adopting, share information with colleagues. So that's good. I mean, that's all brilliant. That's some of these things are provoking thoughts and actions. So let's just move on quickly to overcoming the barriers to adoption. So hopefully you looked at the Police Scotland use of chatbot and thought, oh, that looks very cool and a good candidate experience. You can understand how it could help your candidates. But let's not forget that actually adoption is often one of organizations' biggest hurdles with AI. People are required to perhaps change their behavior. There's fear of job losses. There are sometimes stakeholder trust issues. There's fear of high-profile failure. There's compliance and validation hurdles. And these concerns were reflected in the survey we did with yourselves. In particular, the number one concern was about taking humans out of the loop. So again, just back to our point of how it's really important to keep humans part of the process. The second biggest concern, I put them together, was data privacy, bias, and ethical considerations. Fourth was the candidate experience, of course. And finally, job losses and stakeholder buy-in. So very much reflecting some of the issues we've reflected there. And so I thought I would use this quote from Police Scotland to show that even though it looked great, it wasn't easy necessarily for them to get there. And their biggest problem really was mindset. Our initial challenge was mindset. So it was not technology, but it was the organization mindset. Our recruitment team weren't supportive of its use, and any candidate using AI was seen as cheating, and we needed to change. What were their key learnings? Their key learnings were this is how you overcome the objections. And I particularly like the last three boxes on this, which are all about engaging with their organization. It's about establishing a working party and steering group. It's about user guides. And it's about demos. I mean, if you can put the technology in the hands of some of your key stakeholders, that's hugely, hugely helpful. And we've summarized, well, before we've summarized that, sorry, I just want to talk about really important where you start in terms of an AI project. You want to start with an AI project which has got low hurdles. And I would suggest that, for example, we've heard people suggesting using Copilot for screening is a good place to start. We would suggest that's not a good place to start because not only does it perhaps break various privacy rules, but also we have found that if you ask, for example, ChatGPT to screen a resume on a Monday, Wednesday, it actually gives you a different answer. So we've seen organizations like Police Scotland select where they start very carefully in order to have success and build upon it. And this is a really good quote from them. We wanted to introduce AI to allow us to embrace the changing world and position ourselves as modern and forward-thinking. So think carefully about that first project you do. These are kind of 8 recommended steps to reaping the benefits of AI. 1 is about gaining the stakeholders' buy-in. 2, if you can put the technology in their hands, do so. Know your legal and compliance processes. Select the right easy-to-adopt AI project. Select a supplier that understands your adoption challenges and does human-in-the-loop AI. Plan and implement, monitor, improve, educate, celebrate, and go again with your next AI project. If you like the case studies that we showed you, like Police Scotland, and you think there's things you might want to do, is join a resourcing community, who's doing AI projects and learn from other people's experiences. And I think my final penultimate slide is just really encouragement from Police Scotland saying you can absolutely do this. And what Police Scotland said is our project showed us that innovation doesn't have to be slow or expensive. With the right approach, it's possible to deliver a smart, modern solution quickly, with impact that far outweighs the costs and investment. So with that, I leave you with the question, to yourself, really, a rhetorical question. What actions can you take in order to move this agenda forward? And I come on to the very last piece where I know that I'm running a little bit late, although we do have a few minutes still to spare. If there are any questions from the audience, I would be delighted to or answer them either now in the last 3 minutes or to receive them by email or via LinkedIn, however you prefer.
Thank you so much, Charles. As you said, we've got literally 3 minutes for questions, but thank you for that fascinating presentation. Particularly enjoyed seeing how the product's been brought to life by Police Scotland from my perspective. But are there any questions? Steve, in the chat, can you utilise Olio for a few jobs only on a trial basis, or doesn't the system or implementation allow for that? That's in the chat, Charles.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are keen to help people and their organizations overcome some of these hurdles. So we're happy literally to do anything to let people, try these out, put them in the hands of stakeholders, put you in touch with other people who've put them into place. Anything that will help you guys, really. We recognize that we have the technology and that moving your organizations is often quite a big challenge. So we are always happy to help in any way we can.
Thank you, Charles, and thanks, Steve, for the question. Alex, thank you so much. We've got Charles's LinkedIn details there and indeed his email address. Would encourage colleagues to join the resourcing community as well and join that conversation, those conversations to get a richer understanding of the use of AI. Have we got anybody else wanting to ask a question in the last 2 minutes we have on this session? Can't see any hands up.
I would like to say a big thank you to all of you. I hope you found that of interest. And thank you for those who participated in the research and gave us all that kind of valuable insight to share. And thank you to the organisers at PPMA for organising this session with us today. So thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Charles.
All good.
All good.